Crack open my Heineken. It smell like dope. I gotta have it fresh, so I go to the Saints Club.
Boom. All right, we are back. Rockin' Red in the house. We back episode 3, y'all. Man, we got some weird topics and some all over the place topics, but we gonna get right into it. Let's go get into it. How was your Thanksgiving, bro? How was your Thanksgiving? How was Thanksgiving?
I'm glad you wanted to start out that way because I did too. Just talk about normal stuff for a minute before we start attacking the world. It was great, man. It was wonderful. I when I got off work on whatever Wednesday, I went over to my dad's house, and I never left. I left, but I stayed there the whole week, and I just hung out, for 3 or 4 days with my dad until it was time to go back to work. And I
Yeah,
know you lost yours, somewhat recently. So
yeah,
I'm so thankful to have that. And I had an amazing time. My dad's my best friend. I feel like
man.
as time goes on, we become closer, and that and getting to spend time with my friends that are also like my brothers and sisters. It was good. It was chill. Put me in a good state of mind, and that's why when you asked me, what do you want to talk about? I didn't have anything like that. I'm just raring to get out of the gates and
Yeah,
angry about or anything.
that's a good
I
thing
kind of
about the
feel good.
holidays. That's a good thing about the holidays, I think. Like it calms some people get in the hustle bustle, but then it calms people down. So you kind of start thinking family, less about hopefully you think less about stuff. Some people start thinking stuff. But
Yeah,
hopefully you think less about stuff and more about people, man. Like you realize like the people you don't get to just chill with, because my kids they're all getting grown and doing their thing and moving and getting careers and graduating and getting jobs and stuff. So seeing them is less, more of it's only the holiday, especially with one being a school teacher. She's out for the holidays, so I see her a lot more. But yeah, that's what it's supposed to be about, man. It's supposed to be about the family. So I'm glad you got a chance to do that. Sure, I say I go to mom's house and eat, and the kids they like to come over my house because they can cut loose on my house. They call my house the party house because you got the studio, you got vinyl you can go through there. They like to go take their Instagram pictures in the studio, and then they come over here and they can cut loose and drink. This is where sure enough alcohol gets intake.
yeah. You have a few of them that are of age, right? Couple, two, three
Yeah.
that are of enough.
Out of the 7, we got
Or close
everybody.
enough to where you're like,
Yeah,
hey,
out of
whatever.
7, we got five full grown 21 or older drinkers. So the only ones left are the 13-year olds. The girl was her mom, and her mom's in her feelings right now, so we don't see her much. We ain't gonna talk about that. But but Asher we see on a regular. Like we got his first basketball game tomorrow, and as you see, I got on the
Yeah,
Dickinson Gators shirt, the Hard Rock Roofing,
saw
Dickinson
that.
Gators Hard Rock
And
Roofing
Hard
shirt.
Rock, yeah, you're
Yeah.
sponsoring. Cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it's basketball season, so I'm happy about that. He made the basketball team, and football is his thing, but basketball is one of those. He's just athletic, man, and it's fun to be out there with him. Somebody can do because after 6 daughters, not saying I didn't like my daughters, but once you get to the boy, you like, yeah, let's go, boy.
Yeah, you went through a lot, man. A lot to get to that one boy, man. So
Yes, man. And I had a hooper like, Naya played for Clear Lake. And when she went on to SFA, she was the captain of the basketball team now. And I went to some of their games when they were closer to here. Got a chance to see her beat the brakes off TSU one time. But it's one of those things like, it's not that I didn't like the girls. The girls were good, but man, it's just something about that boy in that football and basketball. we be adding and having fun, bro. We be having fun. So yeah,
my bro Mike, one of my best friends, who I'm sure you'll meet him at some point. My goddaughter is one of his daughters, and he's like you. He made a bunch of girls and one boy, and it's funny. It's
I
sometimes it
mean,
happens to the dude that had a lot of girl. Like,
Yeah, they say that's the curse. You
yeah,
Yeah, you,
yeah,
you you did too much when you was younger, but I mean, if I didn't get this through marriage, I would have been just well, it would just been. And the thing about it, it wasn't like I was all stuck with from pink barrettes and dresses because they wasn't even them type of girls.
yeah.
They wasn't even them type of girls. The 13-year-old, she showed up girly. She came out full on Beyonce, like from the jump. Like she came out 4 years, tap ballet, all that full on girl, everything pink. We not watching football, daddy. She was all that. The rest of them, they just watched the game with me. They did they didn't like dresses. They didn't like none of that stuff. They were not girlies until they were women. That's when they started to really embrace being a woman. But they was like little tomboys, like. but
Yeah.
but yeah, man, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, man. The holidays. Uh, well, let's get into some current events with
Drama.
Houston. Oh
Yeah.
man, this water boil thing. All right, so I've been on the water issue for months. Like you see me posting, obviously, man, like the ice caps are disappearing. We're losing icebergs. The Mississippi was dry for the longest. Luckily, this rain's replacing a lot of it right now with all this rain. So don't be complaining about this rain because we needed it. But if water is gonna be an issue going forward. You see how quick a water treatment plant goes down, and all of a sudden you don't have water. And we're luckily outside of that line, but it's what 2 million people that's inside of that line right now, and that's crazy. But that's not even like an emergency. This is just some regular stuff. Just a generator go down and it's days without water. Now imagine if it was, God forbid, we have war on our land or something that's catastrophic happens and it knocks these treatment plants out. What are you gonna do for your family and water? I tell people all the time, bro, have a plan. It's too late to say, oops, let's go to HEB after everybody's out there looting and killing because ain't no police and it's martial law. Like, what you gonna do for water then? And I always think, not necessarily to that extreme, but what if it was like the government shut down for 3 months and you had to survive off just what you got at your house? You got to protect your house because the police is not necessarily there. You should always, as a man, I just feel like you should have a plan like that. Like, and I mean, half our job is provide, and the other one is protect. So you need to be providing food and water and protecting, what's yours. And what's your take on it? Because like I say, it's not an emergency thing now, but it's affecting kids. Can't even go to school, like because you send kids to school and tell them not to drink out the water fountain. They're drinking out their water fountain. So what you think about it, bro?
Well, in regards to the actual water thing, and when you said that earlier, I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but now I get it. And I realized you'd been talking about that in different forms, like you said, global warming, all sorts of things, water.
Yeah.
I went to the gym yesterday after work and worked out, and I was about to go take a shower, and I realized that the showers were closed.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, I get it. And I thought that part of Houston wasn't affected by that, but apparently it was. But
Where were you at the
by Baybrook Mall at the
by
Lifetime
Baybrook? Okay.
Fitness.
Yeah, okay.
So
Wow, so it's a fate. I didn't even
not a
think you
big
would reach
deal.
that far
I
out.
went home and took a shower. That's not the point. But when it comes to drinking water, we forget how quickly infrastructure falls apart if we don't have some sort of backup plan. Now, when you talk about water, I think, and we had to deal with this over Thanksgiving. I grew up in Bay Ridge, as you know. You're aware of what happened there after Hurricane Harvey. We got hit. One of the worst neighborhoods in Houston, as far as the damage. Every single house in the neighborhood was got at least a foot and a half of water. So everything was out of every house all at once. It was something that I never thought I would see. So we have to deal with drainage issues, which are being remedied right now. We lobbied and we got something around $13 million put into all sorts of projects to fix that. But right now, as we're widening the detention pond, it filled up. There's and I won't get into the details, but it wasn't a threat to us, but something that's very on people's minds who live in that neighborhood. I don't live there. My dad lives there. I grew up there. So
I frequent that neighborhood. Justin mom stayed there
Obviously,
for a long time, so
yeah.
I was always in Bay Ridge.
It was like 2903 Ocean Way or something was their house. I can almost remember the address. I don't know if
Wow,
that's
yeah,
it
that's
anymore.
it. That's pretty close. That's pretty dead on right there.
And in fact, I got to say this: the house next door to that on the corner, when I was a baby, when it flooded during Hurricane Alicia, I stayed the night in that house with my mom and dad because that was a shelter. But that's a different
Wow,
story. But I had to bring it
wow,
up because it's right next to Justin's house, and we'll get into all
wow.
that at some point.
Yeah,
Now I don't know, man. Yeah, we need more than an HEB next door with bottled water to deal with water crises whenever we have them. And I know you can boil the water. I don't know, man. I've not thought as far into it as you have. So, but
yeah. I
I know
mean,
how quickly I know what we did in Bay Ridge whenever things went south is we relied on each other and we had people from outside that were coming to help us. So
yeah.
everything became very neighborly, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I sat and shed a tear at some point while all that was going on, seeing how
I
much
think that was
care and love there was. So we come together as Texans, but
yeah.
that
I
only
would
goes
say
so far.
that happened Texas wide when the Harvey thing happened. I truly could say that's when I saw the most like real Texas pride I've ever felt since moving to Texas. Like people, I mean, Trey and Zero had their issues and whatever about their little issues, but Trey was out there doing the thing, man. I mean, he's one who shines as much as like a mattress mat when a situation happens like that in the city, bro. Like people really came together and like you say, it was so neighborly, and the love would almost bring you to tears. How much people would help each other, and how soon we forget that, bro. As soon as the election came, it was like gone. You over there, and it was just like what? How how fast political standpoint changed that love, and it's sad, but it was a good time though. I that was real strong Texas pride. It made me
You had
like,
it in Dickinson, right? I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
live in
oh, right,
Dickinson.
yeah. Dickinson was hit hardest, man. It was like I say, I was stuck in the house for 4 days, and I remember just coming out the house, and this is around the time me and my wife was just like we were having a weekend, so we was phones off, no TV, and we turned the phones and the TV on. And it's like, man, the city's underwater. Not realizing that all we needed to do was open our front door and we would have saw a lake. Man, we opened that front door and a literal speedboat went by. Like, zzz, 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 zzz. Whoa, what the? Hey, turn the news on. What happened? What happened? Turn the news on. We missed something. Like, I was like, because we were getting phone calls from Alabama. I got a call from homeboy. Shout out to Jay, man. I got a call from Jay Jackson from prison. He in prison. He called me like, man, you all right? I'm like, bro, what's going on? Why everybody calling? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like, so when we turned the TV and phone off, we turned them off. So we wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the world. And like after a weekend, we looked up and everything was underwater, and we was just like, whoa, this is crazy. But it's one of those things when it went down and everybody got to it. It was the most beautiful thing. I say it was. I hope if things would go bad, Texas would stay like that. If it gets to martial law and all this, I would hope that Texas shows up rather than the Walking Bad Texas.
No, it will. I know it would. Yeah, I mean, I was living in Houston on Richmond Avenue at that point, and I went to bed and it rained. Nobody knew that was going to go the way it did. But at some point in the middle of the night, I woke up and I started getting Facebook messages from people that lived around my dad, and they were like, "Do you know what's going on over here?" And I ended up calling my dad. His house was flooding. I got my buddy that lives in Hidden Lakes to bring his boat over there and go get my dad because I was
Wow.
stuck and I couldn't leave my apartment in Houston because I was flooded.
Yeah.
So it was relying on friends, and God, it was something. So
Well,
we all come together, man. When those things happen, I think we would forget our BS very quickly if we were ever put in that position again. And Houstonians just tend to be like that, man. Shout out
yeah,
to Mattress Mac. Shout out to Trey. I know what happened
yeah.
with Zero. Zero's my favorite rapper, but yeah, I can't forget what Trey has done in the past. And a lot of
Yeah.
people want to sweep that under the rug. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like zero.
I've been
I'm
on
in
the
the
stage
zero
and trade.
group. I got people who mess with zero on a level that's on my page. Like they work out together. My boy, shout out to Cook. Shout out to Cook. From the faculty. They together. I see them. Like I say, they together so much. It's almost like I'm zero homeboy because I literally see his daily workouts with Cook, and they in the gym, at the boxing gym doing their thing. So I see them that much that you get that familiarity, especially when you living in Houston. But man, like I say, besides that little issue they had where I can't take nothing from Trey when it comes to shining for the city. The boy do that. He do that. He does that. But man, y'all be careful out there. Boil your water. Tell them kids to watch them kids. Don't have because them kids, kids that must run and crank a water hose up and get the drinking from it in a second. So at least we would in our day. I don't know about these kids. They might be a little bougie. I don't know.
They even have water fountains in school. I guess they do, but
they do. But last I seen them, like man, they have little signs that say "Bring your own bottle."
I'm old enough to remember. I remember when they put in Coke machines at Creek, new ones, and then they started selling that BS Dasani water bottles, and I was like, who would buy water? I'm old enough to be one of those people that was like, who would buy water when we got a water fountain right there?
Yeah, we grew up in the age where I think we're the first generation to actually see this bottled water thing happen and realize that we didn't drink bottled water. We drank it from the faucet, from hose pipes, from water fountains. We didn't mind the natural water system, and that's bringing my point. What happened to the water? Why did it get to the point where we don't drink it no more? Is it just us being bougie, or did the system tell us all of a sudden we got to have bottled water? Because
I believe it was probably both. What do you think?
I think it was a little bit of both, because I tell people all the time, I ain't coming from Alabama. I still go back to Alabama and drink straight out the faucet. That water in Alabama is the bomb. I'm talking about Mobile water is like, I don't know if it's the Bay water, if it's the rocks, the filtration, whatever they got. But when I came to Texas, it was different. It was like, ooh, that water. Texas water had an odor. It had a taste to it that I wasn't used to. And so I had to get used to it. And I don't drink it necessarily now, but in the middle of the trying to get used to it era, that's when the water bottles started popping up. I would say early 90s, mid 90s and on, it started popping up. But it was more of a, oh, they drink bottled water, you bougie type thing. Like, you better get you some of that tap. And then it became a thing to where if somebody offered you tap water, you like, ugh, I don't know when that happened. I don't know when it happened. Because whether people know it now, you go to that restaurant, they just giving you some filtrated water. It is not bottled water.
Well, that lets me know how programmed we are, because to me, when I was growing up, I drank the tap water out of my faucet in the kitchen, and that's what I thought water tasted like. So anytime I went anywhere else, it was a little bit different, and I was like, "That's not water. That's how ridiculous is that?" But it was God knows, it was the tap water from the faucet with no filter. So
I don't even think they had.
You just said the same thing about your Alabama water. You were like, "That's how water tastes."
That's how water tastes. That's how water tastes, and anything else is not agreeable with my body as water. The funny thing about it, I know for a fact it was just the pipes. You know the little filters they have on the waters now. I don't even think we had those. I don't even think we had those. Like, if we did, it never got changed. It was just there.
It was that aluminum. It was the aluminum and
aluminum screen
can and whatever else I was drinking. I was like, "That's it. That's the lick right there. Is that stuff?" Whatever. Man, those are the jokes iron, whatever. That's what we used to say. Yeah. I don't know, man. I believe I have a good immune system because of that tap water and other things, man.
I stay on, my wife hates it, but I stay on like the kids and my wife, like taking multivitamins, just because I've seen the difference in like living without them. But stuff like that, you got to keep your immune system up. And I typically say, man, every now and then drink a little of the tap water, no different than they're finding stuff in it every now and then. But I also like holistic living, like getting honey that's from local honey and cooking it within your food. I do that because my allergies are horrible, and so I need to. Stuff like that keeps your immune system on its toes, and you don't have to worry about these sways like with COVID or things like that. Literally, because COVID, I would have never even took a shot, but I wouldn't have saw my dad the last time I saw him because I knew they were gonna let me in that nursing home without a shot. So me and my wife, I was because I was totally against it, and I was just like, all right, they starting with the old people, so I know they're not letting me in unless I get the shot. So I was first on the list, and like I say, if I hadn't got the shot, I wouldn't have started that last time. So I wasn't mad at it. I mean, even the booster, I had the booster, but I mean, more shots, more boosters, nah, probably not happening. Especially after actually having it. Like, no, I'll take the 5 to 7 day vacation and I'll be all good. Didn't take the doctor prescribed us medication for it. We didn't take it. Somebody want it, you come get it.
That's I didn't mention this earlier, but Thanksgiving, my mom passed away on Thanksgiving 6 years ago.
Wow.
So, along with all the good things I said, there's always that, but I don't let it ruin Thanksgiving. I just remember
it. Tough one. That's a tough one, bro.
I'll tell you what's tough. If I would have not been able to see my mom in the hospital or somewhere because of COVID, I didn't get the shot, but I probably would have done it just to go see my mom, and I was totally against it. But that would have been, if I had not been able to see her while she was passing or prior to that, and if she had thought that I didn't want to see her or something, I couldn't have lived with that. So that
was that. And I mean, luckily, by the time I got to my dad, he I guess early onset dementia or whatever he had, he could look at my face and smile and say I look just like him, but he didn't even remember who I was. He didn't remember my little brother. That was he forgot a whole child. But he knew my mama. He knew my mama. And see, that's what I tell people sometimes. The old men from old generations, they may be with the love of their life, but they might be just like some of these single people out here. They looking at the love of their life on Facebook somewhere, living life. But because he remember my mama, like boom. Oh yeah, I remember something, but couldn't say my name. I look just like him, but like I say, he had no clue that the world had changed the way it did. So it was like I actually kind of was like, God was pretty good on that one, because the whole 2 years I was thinking, what is he thinking? Like, he got to be freaking out in his brain. Like, what? We got to wear a mask. Can't go outside. My daddy would have had a fit. Boy, he would have bucked the system. He'd have rolled that wheelchair. He'd have broke out that sucker like a prison. They would have told him like. So I think God kind of like, I don't know when his brain got like that, but it was one of those things that it gave me comfort to know, like, he wasn't even there. He don't even realize all this happened, and he don't realize 2 years passed and nobody came to see him. So that was the new thing about it. God always gives you an out like that, man. If you close enough to him, you'll see the out. Sometimes we get away from God and don't realize we started doing what we was doing, or drinking more, or smoking more, doing whatever more, depending on that more than God. And then when it get bad, that thing ain't gonna hug you like God gonna hug you. And that's my preach for today. I'm saying I'm so about.
I mean, I have to say one more thing. My mom, passed less than a year before her house would have been flooded, and that would have absolutely broken her heart, for one. But she was in such bad health. I don't know how she would have survived during the time when my dad had to go live in a hotel, while his house was getting back together, and then moving back in as soon as he could, when it was just barely livable.
Just barely, barely. Everybody
plugging it out, while it was getting done. I don't know how we would have gotten my mom out of the house to rest. It was so, and my mom certainly wouldn't have wanted to see the world in the state that it's in now. So my mom was such a loving, caring soul, and such a sweet, tender soul. She got out of here before things got really bad, in my opinion. I've always said she wouldn't have wanted to endure and see some of the things that are happening now. So I think you kind of said the same about, and maybe your dad was protected a little bit from understanding what was going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, man. I think like this school, this new world is just a little too fast and a little different for some people, and shout out to the people that's their age and still toughing it out, because they're, like I say, man, I was thinking about it the other day, having this other business where I gotta keep up with all these passwords and stuff. Man, you realize that you didn't have a password in your head from probably about 4 or 5 to about 20 something when you started maybe working somewhere, or maybe even 30 something when the internet really got popping. It was just like, I gotta keep no password. Like, you had a password, it was some secret clubhouse mess in your treehouse or something. But like on Little Rascals and something. I was watching Little Rascals the other day, and
I had forgotten about stuff like that. Oh man, know that you might have to have a password to get into a treehouse or something.
yes, but I mean, but like, that's the world we lived in. Now you need a password to get in your bank account, to get into your email. Like, I mean, and when you said mail back in the days, that was a mailman. Now I think, especially in Dickinson, the mailman might run 4 or 5, not even 5, 6 days a week. It run like 4 maybe, because so many people don't use mail, and the world has changed so much, man. I just shout out to everybody that's 65 to 75, 85 years old, still toughing it out, still dealing with Zoom. Like, oh my God. Like, I can, my mom, like, right now when I leave, I gotta go take some stuff. We had to print off my mama. She still works and she's a medication nurse. We had to print off a license and all this email stuff. And it just gives my mama the blues. And it makes me sad sometimes. Like, oh, mama, you still got to deal with all this email and password and all this. And she just loves to work, but she has to deal with all this change in communication and technology just to work. And man, just shout out to everybody who like I say, who's bearing and swimming through these worlds, because it's rough for us.
Well, that's a great segue into Ellie.
Yes.
Ellie. So
Ellie.
When you mentioned, and that was an amazing interview that you did with her. When you mentioned that, I went to her page and I just went back to the very first or the most recent video, and it was the one where she was talking about the I keep saying that, FTX thing. And I don't know if you watched that or not, but
I hadn't had a chance to go back. Like I say, I was planning on watching it earlier, and something's always happening with roofing. So,
well, she, just briefly sort of touched on what happened, and what I really liked is the way she connected the dots for people. And she went where she basically said, this is the kind of thing that could lead up to a government digital currency and social credit scores and that sort of thing. And right then I was like, this girl gets it, like she's right there where I am in my crazy head with my crazy conspiracy theories. It was refreshing to see. I was like, yep, she understands. And I don't know much about crypto or understand it. Do you?
I mean, I know as much as it's mined, and how it's mined, and it uses a heck of a lot of energy to mine just $1 of it. So that's what got me. Is like, when I started to research on it, it was like everybody was all about it. It's like, oh, it's crypto, it's the new thing. But these are all the save the planet people. And then you find out that to mine a Bitcoin dollar, it burns up more energy than the power of Tesla. Is like, what? Wait, hold, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how we're gonna be on both sides of those coins. And I think crypto is kind of a new thing, but to me, I'm less. And I'm not gonna say I haven't invested in it, like, because I invested in some money in it early and then snatched it out before it all dropped and made a few dollars, few hundred, nothing to be screaming about. But I can remember a time when you could buy some Bitcoin in a couple of weeks it'll flip for you. And so I was anything like that, I'm gonna be up on it. But I would say I know about, especially to the point where she knew. I would say I know. I just regular 10 minutes. All right, so yeah, regular I know currency, but cryptocurrency, but I wouldn't say I know. I wouldn't give no advice on it. Definitely.
Well, either and I would have to do some studying before I ever talk to her. But I guess what I'm getting at is that was a different kind of interview than you and I just chopping it up, and I'm thinking, well, why don't we talk about some of these things, or why don't we talk to her? Or, we're kind of like some old dudes over here. And it's interesting to have somebody who's 23 or 24 who's sort of grown up in this digital age and with all this new stuff to give us
Yeah,
perspective on it. And she's very
man.
intelligent. She's very worldly. An old soul, I would say. I think that's fair to
Yes,
say. Very, very
yes,
wise. So
yeah.
I enjoy watching her. And
Yeah, I
very,
was amazed. I was amazed. I was amazed. Even my brother is Nathan is 6 years older than me. He watched the interview, and he's like 51, and he was just like, wow. He was born. I mean, because he's got his kids. His daughter is my niece, the one that's like number 12 in the nation. Shout out to Destiny Rocker. Y'all go
yeah.
check out Destiny Rocker, number 12 in the nation in hurdles. But they're twins, Destiny and Desmond, and then he's got Asia. So he's got 3 kids, but they grew up with my kids, even though he half raised me. He's a little older. I was having kids earlier. And so our kids grew up together, and they all get to get together for this Christmas. It's gonna be a good Christmas. But yeah, they're on my page, and it's just like knowing she thinks like that is like not that they're not smart in their alley of what they do, because Desmond works for Google. Destiny's on her thing with the hurdles. She's training for the Olympics right now. Asia's on her thing in college right now. Like all the kids are smart in their realm, but I don't think any of them have that worldly understanding. It's kind of like it's kind of tunnel vision, and it's good because they need to focus on what they're focusing on and get better at their, what they're doing. All of them are in their realm and what they're doing, but she kind of has a wider view, and I didn't know that view was even out there at that age. It's kind of like seeing like a Nipsey Hussle. Like you're like, man, you realize he's a younger cat. He came, but man, he really talked and moved like the 90s rapper. He really moved like us. Like, and when you see it, it's just like, wow, bro, I can't believe he even that young and he talk and move like that, and still be able to identify with the older crowd and the younger crowd. And that is to me is a golden thing, to be able to talk to the young and relate to the old. I've been able to do that in life, but to see it on her, it was pretty dope, pretty dope.
Yeah, that's like a Tupac. And you mentioned we started talking about Juice the other day. I had to go watch Juice again, and really watch it with a different eye, especially after you said Justin reminded you of Bishop. But the whole thing, and Tupac was that kind of person as well, a timeless, a wise person. But where was I going with that? I can't. I always do this in every single. I'm going to lose my train of thought every single time.
Look, my wife said
Nipsey and Tupac were the same kind of people that that as far as their wisdom and their forethinking, when maybe not the same kind of people, because it seems like Pac was on a self-destructive turn
I think it was. I think it was
on a good trajectory up, but he just got.
Yeah, I think Nipsey, people, undertakes his brother Black Sam a lot. He had an older brother, Black Sam, that was the backing in his videos and a lot of backing in the money and the movement. So when you got an older brother slightly ahead of you, you get to move a little different. Well, Tupac didn't have that. He had an older, I think it was a younger sister and his mom. Just recently, his stepdad, I think it was a shot of Shakur, just got released from prison just recently. So he didn't have that. He was, and then his star went up so fast that Pac ended up in, when your star shoots up fast, you don't have time to find the mentors and to find the right pockets. His shot fast and it moved so fast, probably because his life was going to be so short, but when it moves that fast, it's hard for you to find those mentors and move like a Nipsey move. Nipsey, like I say, I can take nothing from him, but Black Sam and all the people that's around him, the team he got around him is pretty dope too. So when you got that little older team around you, man, you get to move a lot different. And so that's why mentorship is so important, man. I try to. I lost one of my artists around this time a couple years ago. Shout out to rest in peace to Money Making Martez, man. He was killed, shot in the head 4 times because of somebody just jealous of his Instagram. Like, and he was, dating his baby mama, and I saw them, in the studio fall in love. I seen her fall in love with him just because he freestyled a whole song straight through, and her eyes was just like, wow, that was amazing. But like he was a good star, but it was one of those things, man. when some of these people are so wise beyond their years that at that young age that you see why maybe the earth just don't deserve them sometime, man. It is that golden and wise. And I say I hope we start appreciating people more while they're here, man. Especially when they're young, man. Appreciate these people while they're doing their things. Give them their roses, give them their shout outs, and appreciate people a lot more instead of waiting till they're gone and then praising them. Like it happens a lot these days.
I need to mention this too, and I'm not even sure if you knew this, but I'm pretty sure you know Lilly. Do you know we lost somebody? I think she might have been in your class, Lilly Trujillo. I think was your age. Pinky's older sister, Louis Trujillo. I worked with them at Star Car Wash back in the days. It was one of my first jobs, and worked for years with them. But yeah, she went to Creek, passed from cancer a couple of days ago. Yeah,
man, I didn't know that. I haven't really been on Facebook that much, and we're doing the holidays and stuff. I post stuff, but I hardly ever get a chance to actually sit down and look at it. But man, that's man, rest in peace. And man, shout out to anybody who's dealing with cancer, man. I think the rate is like 2 out of 3 people you will be affected by cancer, man. So it's not something that you should look at and be like, "Oh, I hope it don't happen to me." It's when it's gonna happen to you and who it's gonna be in your family member or whether it's you. I found out a friend, shout out to Ronnie Dean, was dealing with breast cancer, and she's not even on my Facebook page, but she's on like one of my Instagram. But it was a ex-girlfriend from high school, but I found out she was dealing with that. I didn't even know, but it was one of those things where you see it, man, and it will affect somebody. So everybody needs to be praying about that and be supportive of people who going through that, man, because it's not will it happen? It's how and when. And so shout out to everybody that's dealing with it, man, and may you God give you peace through that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we got 2 more minutes here.
Okay. Well, geez, this kind of been a not it's sort of serious, but I think a good podcast.
Oh man, hey, it's life. It gets serious, it gets funny, it gets crazy, it gets wacky, it gets caught up in current events, and then it falls back to the old school. So that's life. That's what it's supposed to be. It's a living thing. It's living and breathing.
Got a couple of minutes left. Shout out to my boy, Intelligent Dummy, my brother Mike. This is his clothing brand ID. I'm just gonna model some stuff real quick.
Oh man, Intelligent Dummy ID. I like that. I like that. I can identify with that Intelligent Dummy, the brand right there. I kind of feel like, I call it like a 2 chains. It's like it's a controlled ignorance. It's like when to put the ignorance in and when to turn the smart on. So I get that.
No, this is my boy, man. One of my best friends. My goddaughter. Anything you buy from them will go to my goddaughter's Barbie house that we're getting for Christmas or something. But I told him I was going to give him a shout out. So I'll hit you with the info. I don't have Instagram, so I don't even know what his handle is.
Okay. Also, well, just text me to whatever the page is, and I'll put it on now. While you're modeling and everything now. Intelligent Dummy. So all y'all intelligent dummies out there, go get you some Intelligent Dummy gear. Hey man, it's been Rockin' Red. We back with another one. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace out.
Crack open my eye.